and get on. We have to look at the new big thing in actual green activism, and that is called do no harm. You must have all heard about it. Don't consume too much. When you make a policy, think about its impacts, because there's so many impacts we don't think about now. So do no harm is one of the big new actionable trends that we need to take stock on. When you're going to make a climate authority, please understand, suddenly, magically, this is not going to be, Justice Saab, I want to speak to you, this will not, I know you mean very well, but it will not yield you the momentum that you want. The momentum will come and must come from the provinces. Making authority after authority, this is exactly, I would have made one. I was not a sleepy minister. That's all. Asad is smiling because I wouldn't let him sleep. And I'm sure they would have made one. Climate change can't afford to be a sleepy ministry anymore. It was created as that, as a kind of add-on, closed, created, then closed again, and then as an add-on. Because Pakistan is still confused about climate change. Pakistan is very confused about climate change. It is not just about making arguments multilaterally. Those will stand their own pace and change of time. I mean, that's structural change. Multilaterally, it's not happening. Multilateralism is no longer rules-based, nor is it an order. You just have to put your social media or TV on for that. But even COP29 affirms that. None of the goals that were set out at Paris, wonderfully set out at Paris, are anywhere close to being met, including the commitments made to the global south. They're nowhere close to being met. The 300 billion, as the Secretary said, and as they said over there, there's no pathway to that. There's no transparency. There's no actual clarity on how these will be achieved. And we keep on using the same language. We keep on, even multilaterally, I'm deeply frustrated that we still want to, at the expert level, at all levels, stay within the box defined for us. We did not get the loss and damage fund by staying in that box. We stayed outside of that. We spoke with respect and vigor, but we insisted on making it happen beyond the conference dates. Aisha knows this. So I don't want to get into all of that. But it was not by breaking rules. It was by speaking a little bit of truth to power. And that just doesn't get done. We still imagine that someone will tell us what to do. No, they're not telling you what to do. It's all passing you by. Please wake up, do a national stocktake. I spoke about internationally determined contributions. It will take 30 years. If they can ask you for NDCs, which they should, ask each other, what are your nationally determined contributions? You don't see it in the language in Pakistan. IDCs, no. If the UN tells us that this is a goal, we'll quickly grasp it and say, very good, and it'll enter everybody's speeches. It entered the Prime Minister's speech. It entered, he hosted a roundtable for it. But no one's talking about it. What is an internationally determined contribution? It is exactly the transparency, the modality, the mechanism you need, the Global South needs to ensure that all those commitments made on finance, public, private, blended, this is all jargon. These are all boxes that have been ticked. And out of that, 1/10 might come out. But you have a right to ask for internationally determined contributions for financing, just like we have NDCs. Very good mechanism, hardly works, but it has to be there for emissions and for other reductions that are committed by nations. They are not, they are not enforceable or binding. But what is the fear of voicing your own agenda? Please, Pakistan, voice your own agenda and you will be heard. We got loss and damage because we voiced our own agenda. Here we will wait for all the reports to come if and when. I'll now speak to the UN about this because here it's not going to happen. It doesn't enter your language until someone from the global north says, yes, we will do this. This is perhaps to your advantage. It is very sad that we don't want to go outside the box. We want to NCQGs ने आपको कहीं नहीं पहुंचाया. कहाँ हैं आपके NCQs? Where are they? 300 million? Billion? Where is it coming? The poor secretary will be grappling for this for years, and the one after her and the one after her. And we'll be having these conversations about where they are. I mean, you're doing everybody a favor, including the global north, by suggesting this. Perhaps we'll find out there is more money coming into the system. I've done a report with a group of G20 experts on climate finance. There is more money than we know in the system. So it will be better for everyone to find the transparency, the routinized mechanisms through UNFCCC or whoever we determine. If it's COPS, then it's UNFCCC. I understand that UN bureaucracies are magical when they work, but they're very hard to get through for change. I mean, their business as usual is as rigid as Pakistan's. Actually, nothing is more rigid than Pakistan's business as usual. So we are still very much in business as usual mode. BAU has now even become a word which we can toss around. But climate multilateralism is 100% in business as usual mode. Anyone who tells you otherwise is departing from the numbers. And I don't want to say let's not invest in hope, because as I said, multilateralism is the only table where the global south actually gets heard, where friends from the global north actually speak out for you, where they set their own targets, and we have some outcomes that we clutch to our hearts as climate justice, as outcomes of climate justice. Now, Judge Saab aa gaye, Mansoor Ali Shah aa gaye, so I will not take too much time. I wish he was here because I have addressed the authority question to you, sir. I understand your deep frustration and a lot of climate thinkers now who are frustrated at the slow pace of climate responses. We're only responding. Perish the thought that we actually innovate and do things like show climate leadership. We do, but then we let it fall by the wayside. It has to be persistent, and our climate action is basically not rooted in the seat of this capital where all authorities are made of. And they all mostly look at our history. I didn't make it because it was going to become another white elephant, where the same people with the same technical capacity will be sitting, not innovators. That is the history of governments and how we work in Pakistan. And it will become another big drain on your budget, which we see. And it will also be telling the ministry what to do and competing with them for influence. She can't say all this. I'm saying it. I would have said it then. I mean, this is why the CPEC authority has been filled. What did it do? And there is authority after authority being created. I mean, we're not in 1960 again. Yes, I understand the spirit behind it, a group of experts that would furnish the ministry with the level of institutional capacity needed. Perfect on paper. This is not how Pakistan works. And it won't. It will become a sinecure for 70 people who mostly, sorry to say, my experience tells me, even on committees, are self-serving. It won't be the intention you brought to the table and the moral purpose you brought to the table, or any of us sitting here. I know many friends wanted it, and I warned them then. I said, see what happens? You will not be in the authority, providing the capacity and the leadership, or people that necessarily the secretary wants will not be in the authority. You see what happens. Change my name to my husband's last name if it is not what I say. And that's my ultimate bet sacrifice. So I'm going to stop now and say I think Pakistan needs its own stocktake. How we deal with multilateralism, how we accept all norms given down to us. We think challenging the order is breaking the order. No, you can play within the rules and still challenge things multilaterally, which I think Justice Mansoor has very ably done with us at the last two COPs on speaking on international justice and the greening, or rather the browning of the planet is certainly not greening. That's what the evidence tells us. So the evidence is terrible. We are warming, sir, as I said to you there, we are not greening. We are fast on our way to becoming the red planet. So I think on these words we need to really take a clear stock of what Pakistan needs to do. First, with respect to stocktakes and multilateralism, and our own actual action, which is rooted in the provinces. An authority will do very little over here. Thank you.
Thank you, Rehman, for an exciting talk and identifying actions which are to be taken at their best. Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to have with us
वो बैठ जाएगा यहाँ ये गुड ही इज वेरी गुड ये टेक्निकल चीजों का जवाब देगा
खुद जा रही हूँ
अच्छा हाँ चलेंगे
Assalamu alaikum everybody and good afternoon or good morning. Sorry, I was busy before I missed out what Mr. Rehman was saying. Mr. Rehman was right. I mean, I agree. I have no qualms with the fact that should we have an authority or not. I agree with the fact that I agree with her that we can't just keep replicating and creating new authorities.
New SOEs.
The drain on the budget also. But that's not the question I'm addressing at the moment. I think that was in the law, and we really wanted to get that law operationalized. Maybe the Parliament can sit down and sort of change the law and not have an authority. So I don't want to get into that discussion. Principally, I believe that we can't keep on creating new authorities, but that's a separate issue. What I want to do today is just to tell you how we as a judiciary are looking at climate justice, because we've been at the forefront of all this for a while. The entire environmental movement, in a way, got pushed by the constitutional courts of this country, and we moved on from environmental justice to climate justice. So how we look at climate justice now, especially post-Baku, and in the context of something called climate finance now, it becomes important. But let me also say that when we took up that matter regarding authority, it was because there was a climate change fund also in the law.